Well, good afternoon, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana Weather. Want to bring you the latest long-range update. Been a week since I did one of these videos. Had a very busy week, being a little bit under the weather and just busy with other things, unfortunately. But here we are, and we've got some weather to talk about, and we've got a potential of a pretty decent system that you've probably heard about coming up for Valentine's Day night and into Monday. We'll talk about that in just a second. But of course, we've had snow showers around the past couple of days. Those are still continuing to stick around. In fact, live look at radar here, 4:43 p.m. Eastern Time. Pretty decent little snow showers out to our west. This is part of another Clipper system diving down. Not going to affect most of us tonight. In fact, this is going to fade away. I think fairly fast here. In fact, as we just take a look at future radar, give you an idea of what I'm thinking about for this. Here that Clipper system dives in today, and you see it dives and fades away pretty fast, and by the time you get into the way into the overnight hours, here we are closer towards midnight, this pretty much is just gone. Dry Arctic air is going to eat away at that pretty quickly, so not a whole lot. And again, as I put this into motion, you see it doesn't really affect most of Indiana. Maybe affects a tiny little corner there in southwest Indiana with some light snow showers. So if that's right, if I just stop this, and apologize for having to do that, but if I just stop this, really from here on, you might see some light snow showers out of this, but north of that, you're probably not going to see any snow showers. The future radar is right there, the way things are looking right now. That should fade away as we start to head into the nighttime. Okay, then we have another little Clipper system that wants to dive in later on in the week. Here we go through Thursday. We're pretty high and dry Thursday. Thursday night comes, there's the next Clipper system coming down, again, kind of in a similar fashion there with the leading edge, but it moves over all of us, and so that by the time you head towards 7 a.m. Friday morning, some snow showers around the area. It doesn't look like a major system, but it does look like it could be enough to have a little bit of travel impacts at that point, and that's gone by the early afternoon hours on Friday. So it doesn't look like a big system, maybe an inch or less area wide for that. It just, again, a light coating plus, mainly what we'll see with that system on Friday, not big. Now, beyond that, though, we've got a bigger system that is probably in the works for Sunday night, Valentine's Day night. Looks like it's probably going to start after the Valentine's activities, so that's a good thing. This could even extend, it definitely extends on Monday, but it could even extend partially into Tuesday. Let's put this into motion. First off, let me show you the GFS. I think the GFS is clueless on this right now, but I'll show you why I think that here in a little bit. But here's that first Clipper system down tonight. Notice it sort of eats at the Arctic air sort of eats at it. That goes away. It doesn't show much of anything for the Clipper system on Friday. But we get past that, high pressure and control for Saturday. By the time it starts to retreat off to our east, though, for Sunday, here you go. And there's your next system diving down here. And it's not an impressive system here on the GFS model. In fact, you start to see it doesn't really move in. It has it a little bit faster. It has it in here by about 7 p.m. on Sunday. But you notice it's just basically an open wave. There is no closed low pressure with this. It's just an upper level Clipper system that moves through, and it's an open wave. Now, you do notice as you start to move here, though, there are hints that as this goes on, we might start to develop a low pressure. You also noticed a little bend over here, one model run back right there, which is indicative that maybe it's starting to try to develop a low pressure. But otherwise than that, it is pretty much just an open wave on an open wave that wouldn't give us much of any snow with it. Couple or 3 inches at most around the area with this. Now, a much different story can be found in other modeling. I'm not even going to show you the Canadian model. The Canadian GGEM model is just ridiculous on its idea. So let me show you the Euro. I think the Euro has a much better handle on this from a meteorological standpoint, and let me sort of show you that. So here we are. We are starting here at about 1 a.m. on Monday morning. So this is Valentine's Day night after activities are over, and what you've got going on here is a low pressure system developing down to our south. So we've had a lead wave move in, but we've got a second wave that's moved down, and basically what you have is you've got a huge dip in the jet stream that spawns this new low pressure, and this new low pressure is going to sort of move off in this fashion. So watch how this goes here. So here we are at 1 a.m. By the time you get into 7 a.m. that morning, you've got the leading waves of some snow moving over our area. This is the 540 thickness line, this brighter blue dashed line here. That's a typical rain-snow changeover line for us. Notice how far south of us that is, but notice how it starts to lift north the more the day goes on. What happens is this low really develops and it starts to deepen. In fact, as we go later on in today, there's the low right there, and here we are right here. We're at 0Z Tuesday, so this is 7 p.m. on Monday night. And notice that rain-snow changeover line sort of right over the Louisville area, right along the Ohio River there. Everything north of that in snow, everything south of that probably in rain or some form of a mixed precipitation to that. So if the Euro is right, we will have some precipitation type issues around the area. This moves off, and we in southern Indiana would get a pretty major winter storm out of this. Those in Kentucky, not quite as much. They would end up getting some rain after the snow initially comes in there. Now, then notice what it does is it starts to dig in, and this becomes a pretty decent little low pressure system that moves up the coast there. And the Euro's been pretty consistent on this past couple of runs. I think the Euro is starting to get the pattern right. Now, I'm not sure that the positioning of the low is exactly where it's supposed to be yet, but I think it's starting to lock on to this idea a little bit better. The does have some support, by the way. The UK Met, which is another model that the UK Meteorological Agency uses, starting to see this as well. Don't have nicer graphics for this, but what I can show you, there's a low as it starts to develop over Texas, and we are looking here. This is on Sunday morning. By the time you go a little bit further in time here, we go to Monday morning, and there is the low developing down there. It's starting probably to spread some precipitation into the area already. There would be some precipitation type issues with this as well, because your 540 thickness line is kind of right in here, and so again you got that rain snow changeover line right over us. By the time it moves away, it's a very deep low though, and we've got huge Arctic rush of cold air in. It would deliver us a pretty good walloping of snow with this as well, in a very similar fashion to what the Euro is. Now, why is this? What's going on? Let's look at the upper levels of the atmosphere. Let me show you how complex of a pattern this is. Let's back up a little bit. So here we are right now, and as this moves off, we're looking at spin in the atmosphere, and we're looking here at about 40,000 feet up into the air. There's our little clipper system that dives in on Friday. There's the energy associated with it. Doesn't deliver, again, a whole lot much of anything, but enough to squeak out a few snow showers in the morning around the area. But then here is your energy starting to dive down. Now watch, keep your eye on this piece of energy right there, and watch it dive down, and what you're going to see is it starts to round the bend here, and there it is. You've got energy that was kind of all up in here. Then jet stream starts to take a nosedive down here, and watch what happens. Anytime you start to get a major kink in this, what's going to happen? You're going to get a low pressure form out of that. It's called cyclogenesis, if you want the technical term. So that low pressure starts to form, and there it is. You're starting to see it become not just an open wave, but you're starting to see it being a closed wave here into a closed low pressure, and there it is. And as it moves on up the East Coast, can become a pretty impactful system, that with another little clipper system behind it that could give some snow up just a little bit to our north there as well. So meteorologically, that's what's going on, and the reason why, now anytime you see this, remember whenever you see a clipper system going down like this and coming up the East Coast, you've got to have some sort of a blocking pattern going on here. So let's take a look at our teleconnections, our indices. Remember, whenever you have a negative North Atlantic oscillation, you get that blocking signal. Lo and behold, that's what the Euro is showing, a slightly negative blocking system for this pattern. So that would certainly favor it slowing down, deepening, and going up the coast. The other good thing about this is, folks, remember what I said. Whenever you have a quickly transitioning a period of the indices quickly transitioning from negative to strongly positive or positive to strongly negative, that's when you can get some of your more significant winter storms in the area. And watch this. So the Valentine's Day storm would come right in here, and we are about -1 or so here on the indices line. And you are going in the course of 2 or 3 days, look how far positive you're going up here into just a short distance of time. You're talking only a couple of days. This right in here would be a sweet spot for some sort of a significant storm system. And so the indices certainly favoring that deepening of the low pressure and moving up the coast, that giving me some giving some believability, if you will, to both the UK Met and the Euro's idea of this. Arctic oscillation as well, showing that same thing, a retreating, very quickly retreating indices in the positive direction. So you go to very cold air to a little bit milder air in a quicker fashion there. And by the way, after this is all done next week, we do warm up a little bit in the extended period. You're seeing that even in the PNA index. Again, a strongly positive PNA is a troughing here over us, ridging in the west. The opposite, when you go to the negative, you're seeing that retreating indices there as well. So all the signals there certainly pointing to the fact that this could be favorable for a pretty significant winter storm kind of situation around here. Now, with that said, how much snow could we be talking about? Well, let's talk about the ideas here. Again, if you get the open wave idea of the GFS, you're going to be talking about more of a minor snow. You're going to be talking about 2 to 3, maybe up to 4 inches around the area. You're talking about a winter weather advisory level snow if that's right. What happens though, if you end up with that deepening low, like what the Euro and what the UK Met are starting to dial into? Well, that's whenever you can have some serious snows. If you look at the raw numbers for this, what you would see is this is pulling out the computer model, looking at the raw data. This is allowing me to see whether it's going to be snow or rain by looking at the temperature at 850 millibars, surface temperatures, and then I can see the QPF, the quantitative precipitation forecast that it's outputting here. This is liquid precipitation. I can convert that with a ratio. Standard ratio for snow is 10 to 1, and that's a heavy wet snow. That's pretty much what we're going to see here. Notice that our temperatures at the surface here don't really, they actually rise a little bit. In fact, it's saying that we might get up to 0. 0.6 degrees, 0.4 degrees, and this is of course in Celsius. That'd be about 33, 32, a little over 32 to 33 degrees for a high temperature on Monday if this is right. It'll still be cold, it's going to be a heavy wet snow, but you're going down from a very cold air as you start the day to certainly warmer air as you begin there. But look at this. Look at the quantitative precipitation, the QPF that it's showing out. 1.15 inches of QPF. If that all fell as snow, and it looks like it would in this, because what you've got this scene here is all here at the weather office here in Huntingburg. All of the 850 temperatures are below freezing there. So it all fall as snow. That'd be 11.5 inches of snow if this is right. Put it into a map format, and it would be an absolutely major winter storm around the area. Possibly a foot of snow. Now, do I believe this or not this far out? Well, no, you really can't trust any type of snowfall forecasts this far out. So we can look at this and we can say this is eye candy and this is nice. It does fit the pattern. Looks like it could be a big winter storm. And it would certainly be nice for winter lovers around here to see 11.5 inches of a heavy wet snow. Good snowman building snow. I know a lot of you would really love that. It could just as easily be this, though. Now, let's talk about my thoughts on this. All right. Here's a little graphic I put together, and this is a graphic that I put together whenever I forecast winter storms. So I'm letting you in on a little bit of my forecasting technique here. What I do is I come up with my thoughts of looking at the pattern without really looking at the surface map, just kind of looking at the upper level patterns, the teleconnections, all kinds of other goodies. I come up with what my favorite storm path is first and get an idea of what I think could happen based on what I'm seeing. That's what's in the red. This is kind of what I've been going by the past couple of days in trying to forecast this. This is the red here is kind of my initial thoughts on what I think this storm might do. If that's the case, based on mine, the white is where I think the snow swath would be. Now let's talk a little about the models. As we're going through these this morning, I've plotted all of the low positions from the hours on the models to give you an idea of how they're doing. So we go for the 0Z. The last night's version of the Euro model is in this kind of aquamarine. Notice how close it is to this. What that one would do is sort of tracks it in a manner similar to this, weakens the low here, transfers its energy to the coast, and becomes a pretty significant winter storm for them up there that way. But then you've got the 12Z, the ECMWF here in the purple. That's this morning's Euro. Notice how similar of a fashion it is. The only difference is it dives it south and then goes up the coast in a manner similar to this, rather than to weaken it and transferring its energy to a new low. But a pretty similar idea overall, especially as you're starting out. And then you got the UK mat in the orange, and the UK mat, as far out as it can see right now, it goes in a fashion similar to these. Well, just notice, here is my forecast thoughts of what I thought initially the past few days, and notice how all of these are now kind of clustering together in the model runs. That gives us a little bit more confidence here that we could be dealing with a pretty significant winter storm. And that gives me a little bit more confidence that maybe that open wave that the GFS is saying isn't right. Combine that whenever you see the GFS start to get a little bit of notching going on like this, where it could be trying to form a low. Maybe that the GFS is starting to try to catch up onto that idea. Now, of course, we're really not going to know for a few days, because right now I don't have it pulled up, but if we looked at a satellite under the Gulf of Alaska, that's where the storm is currently at. It's well offshore right now. That's going to take a few days to come on shore. It's probably going to be Friday night into Saturday morning in one of those runs before we start to see that piece of energy come on shore. Once that comes on shore and it's fully sampled in our upper air network, that's whenever the computer model should start to dial in on these things a little bit better. So I don't think that the Euro has the final track here yet. You can see the difference in how these three models are varying on each other. Two of these being the Euro and one being the UK mat. But they're all very similar to each other. We'll see if we can continue with that run-to-run consistency. I don't think either one of them have exactly dialed in on the path of this yet, but I think they've got the idea right. I think they've got the idea that we are indeed going to have a system that digs down like this, because you have blocking in the Atlantic from that teleconnection. You're going to get a system that digs down like this, and you're going to see a low pressure spawn, and a low pressure is going to sort of track off and then up the coast in some fashion here. That's really what I think that's going to happen. I don't see this as being sort of an open wave that just moves through like the GFS is. I think in the next day or two, you're going to start to see the GFS cave to the Euro and UK Met idea here. I really do. So that's sort of what's going on for the Monday storm, folks, and it's a very complex pattern. As I've been saying the past few days, if you followed me on Facebook or Twitter, very complex pattern setting up. We're not going to have great answers until this weekend, but I do think this one has the potential to be a fairly sizable winter storm. Do I think we're going to get a foot of snow like that? Well, I won't rule it out, but I think maybe 6 inches to 8 inches in some spots, I think could be reasonable with the size of this. So we'll start to dial in those snow totals a little bit more as we get closer towards the weekend. But I do think this open wave, only 2 or 3 inches idea, I do think that's probably going to be out for, I think that's going to be a little bit too low for the system. If anything, what could go wrong here, folks, is the fact that this could be one of these systems that, how do I word this? It could be one of these systems that just torches us. That would be the worry about this. If the low tracks a little bit too far north rather than south, we could end up on the rainy side. The heavier snow could go a little bit north of what I'm saying here. That'd be the danger in this. But I do think a storm is there. I do think the potential is there for a winter storm. But I just want to reiterate here, rain not the most likely scenario, but still an option on the table. We'll keep an eye on it, folks. Until then, it's going to be very cold. Go to southernindianaweather.com, click on 10-day forecast. You can always get the updated forecast. Bitterly cold tonight, down to 14 with some flurries around the area. Only in the 20s tomorrow. 30 on Friday with that clipper system moving through. A few snow showers, a light coating maybe, up to an inch at most. But again, a very cold weekend shaping up before we get into Monday when we get that winter storm moving in. So we'll keep an eye on it. But hey, look at this. Nice little warm-up in store after we get past that. So it's not going to last for long. This might change. My confidence is pretty low in this number. Tuesday and Wednesday might go a little bit down in the numbering if we end up getting a more major winter storm than what it looks like we could get right now. That'll keep it colder for a couple of days. But a nice warm-up is coming beyond this. So there you go. That's the latest long-range update, folks. I'll have another one of these updates for you probably on Saturday morning. That's it for now.